I guess the experience we had making it was my first film, and so I felt like a fish out of water. You know, I'd done a lot of theater, but it was my first time, my first film, and it was an amazing cast. I mean, I was just talking about the cast for Clue. I was looking the cast for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. It was an extraordinary cast. Jack Nicholson was wonderful. He was already a big star, but he worked and helped us. I remember once one of the cast members became ill in the middle of while we were shooting a particular scene, and we didn't get the scene was put on the shelf for a month while he went in, this other actor went into treatment. And when we came back, I couldn't find my place in the scene again. I mean, I knew the lines and all that, but I couldn't get back to where I was when we were originally shooting it. And I wasn't getting any help from Milos Forman, the director. He wasn't neglecting me. It was just, and Jack Nicholson came over to me kind of on the slide. And I don't remember what he said, and he just said a few words. He recognized that I was having a problem. And he just said something, you know, just shared something that put me right back into it. So he was so helpful to all, because we were mostly a lot of young actors that hadn't done anything.
Yeah, I mean, but then, you know, the popularity grew, like, I mean, looking back at the film now, I remember seeing it when it came out. You know, and now you look back and it's like, wow, you know, that person went on to do that. That person, I mean, it's an amazing cast.
It was great, and we all really worked hard on it. Milos Forman had an interesting way of auditioning. He had a space, and he'd set chairs around, like in a movie for group meetings, and he'd have 7 or 8 actors come in and sit around who were all auditioning, including myself. And Milos would play the part of Nurse Ratched, and he'd sling questions or guide this improvisation, and through that he'd see who responded in what way and who would work out with the film. It was an amazing experience. Sometimes I feel every time I'm doing a role, it's my favorite role of the moment.
One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Hey, you know,
Doc Brown, my favorite Martian.
I gotta say, Cuckoo's Nest, like I said, was my first film, and if you read reading the novel, Ken Kesey's novel, Tabor, the part I played, is only in the very beginning of the novel. Tabor, in the beginning, is asked to take medication, I think, and they won't tell him what it's for, and he flips out, and he gets crazy and violent. He can't deal with reality. When reality doesn't go his way, he gets crazy, and which is why he's institutionalized, because it's on the point of being dangerous. And I remember at the end of the movie, when the Indian has taken the water thing, thrown it out the window, and is escaping this hell. Milos Forman suddenly went around to shoot everybody's reaction. We were all sleeping in our cots, and the racist after we shoot. And I felt I learned a lot as an actor because I had to be really deeply enough in what Tabor was about and how he related to the situation to be able to take advantage of that moment. It worked out. I felt very good about that. But Cuckoo's Nest was a big step for me before about what, I didn't do it this time, but I've often said Cuckoo's next because it was such an extraordinary experience.
Hey, we're going to take a couple more questions.
Hi. Okay.
I swear to God.
It better be a really
He did. He had his hand up long before I did. You picked on me before him, so.
I am so sorry.
The pressure's on.
No, I just really quick, I know it's kind of like a general question, like I'm sorry, it's not a great question, but like, what was your favorite role, like absolute favorite, and why?
That's a good question. You're talking about general. That's a good question.
That's tough. That's tough because sometimes I feel, every time I'm doing a role, it's my favorite role of the moment.
One flew over the Cuckoo's nest.
Hey,
Doc Brown, my favorite Martian.
I gotta say, Cuckoo's Nest, like I said, was my first film, and if you read reading the novel, Tim Kesey's novel, Tabor, the part I played, is only in the very beginning of the novel. Tabor, in the beginning, is asked to take medication, I think, and they won't tell him what it's for, and he flips out, and he gets crazy and violent. He can't deal with reality. When reality doesn't go his way, he gets crazy, and which is why he's institutionalized, because it's on the point of being dangerous. And I remember at the end of the movie, when the Indian has taken the water thing, thrown it through the window, and is escaping this hell. Neil Foreman suddenly went around to shoot everybody's reaction. We were all sleeping in our cots, and the weights and stuff that we shoot. And I felt I learned a lot as an actor because I had to be really deep enough in what Tabor was about and how he related to the situation to be able to take advantage of that moment. It worked out. I felt very good about that. But Cuckoo's Nest was a big step for me in the way I worked and kind of bring the best I could bring to the project. So and I've been asked that question before about what, I didn't do it this time, but I've often said Cuckoo's Nest because it was such an extraordinary experience.